Alright guys, next we're going to go through our basic attacking structure. So this assumes that we've already built out from the goal kicks, we've successfully maintained possession, but the black team was able to get their defensive shape and get numbers behind the ball. So now we're in our basic attacking structure. So first, before we get into that, we will refer to the fields in 5 different zones. This zone here we refer to as the wing. As you see, I've drawn these 2 white lines all the way down the middle of the field. This is the half space. Right here is the center, another half space, and the wing. Okay, so our basic attacking structure is 2 center backs deep, split wide from each other, about 30 yards apart, occupying the half spaces. Our goalkeeper high, given an option. Our fullbacks as high and as wide as they can possibly be, while still giving an angle of support. So still giving an angle for that pass. If the right winger was higher to cut this off, then we would need the left back to be lower in order to still give a passing lane. But in this particular case, the right winger is very compact, so our left back can be even higher. Our defensive midfielder, our 6, wants to maintain this triangle with the center backs, and unless they're under pressure, we don't need him here. So we want to keep him as high as we can while still being an option. Our 8 and our 10 are also occupying the half space and the space between the defensive lines. Our front 3 is as high as they can possibly be to stretch and pin the opposition back 4 back. Okay, so these half spaces basically refers to the area between the center back and the outside back, and the area between the vertical lines of the opposition. So it's an area that normally the central midfielders can't cover, and the wingers are too high to cover. So when we talk about playing between the lines, this is the area we're normally referring to. So you can see we've occupied all of the space and all of the channels. There's 2 players in every single channel, which we are a positional play-based team, which means we want to occupy certain spaces and then rotate and move the ball quickly in order to exploit those areas and those spaces. So our basic attacking structure, we have our back 4 here, right, with our outside backs high and wide, our center back split, our goalkeeper given an option, and our 6 here. So as we circulate the ball, as the ball goes from our center back into our left back, some of our movements, our center back, instead of following his pass, is going to give a deeper, wider angle into here. So if he was to follow his pass, it would make it easier for him to be pressed when he receives the ball. But if we give this deep angle here, it creates an extra 5-10 yards for them to press, and it creates more space on the opposite side of the field, which the whole purpose of us having possession is to manipulate the defense out of certain areas we want to attack. So if we know our right winger is extremely good 1v1 and we want to isolate him, we would attempt to use possession to manipulate the blacks over onto this side of the field, and then quickly look to switch the point of attack in order to get it to that right winger to be isolated. So in this case, as the ball travels to our left back, our center back gives a deep angle, our goalkeeper shifts, our other center back shifts across to give an angle and also maintain defensive integrity. Our 6 or defensive mid slides to support into the half space, so we're maintaining the triangle between these 3 players, between these 3 players, between these 3. And you see this big gap here, so we would need our outside back on the weak side to pinch all the way into that half space as well. So now if we do lose the ball, we still have an integrity of a good back 4 shape here in order to press as well. If there's nothing on for the left back to penetrate, if the blacks all shift across and maintain good shape, okay, then right away we're going to recycle the ball. So they've all slid across, maintained good shape. So we recycle the ball from the left back into the center back. As that's happening, our center back's backpedaling out into the half space, our outside back's backpedaling out. Okay, the one that played the ball is supporting again in case we need to come back. Our goalkeeper is also given an option. So if we can, we want to quickly come into the opposite center back and try to get forward into the outside back or winger to exploit what would be hopefully a 4v2 or a 4v3 on this weak side with these acres of space. Okay, if in particular the left winger stayed wide, then we could ask our center back to drive forward into that space. But most teams are going to shift across, so then we try to find the outside back. If there's space for the outside back to get forward, that would trigger one of our patterns, which we're going to talk about in the next video from there. In this case, as the ball travels, we all travel as well. Defensive mid slides across to maintain that shape. Center back who just played it gives a deep angle, so the 6 can now come into the half space. Our weak side center back slides across to maintain defensive shape. Goalkeeper slides across, and our weak side outside back slides all the way into the half space, so we maintain our shape again. Okay, in front of the ball, if the outside back has space, that's going to trigger all of our runs from our other players. Maybe our right wing's checking, our central midfielder is trying to get into that half space higher, okay, or underlapping to open up space for the center forward into that half space, right? The options are extreme amount of options, which we'll go through. But in this particular case, we're just looking at circulating. So if they slide across and deny us penetration, then the same thing repeats itself. We recirculate the ball into the center back. This one backpedals out. Our defensive mid is given an option centrally. Our outside back backpedals out, okay? And we're looking to circulate the ball quickly, right? If, say, the blacks haven't shifted centrally, then all of a sudden we open this vertical ball into our central midfielder in the half space, and now all of a sudden it's a 3v2 where we're in the attacking third. And right away when we find that ball, our entire team would then step up. Defensive midfielder would support, our center backs would compact, our outside backs would get involved, right, in the attack as well, and our goalkeeper would travel. So that's our basic attacking structure. The only other change that would be different from there is if our center backs are under pressure, we would then at times ask our 6 or our defensive midfielder to pop in between them. So if our center back has the ball here and our other center back is wider than that half space, right, and our center forward, the opposition center forward's pressing, we would ask our defensive midfielder, our 6, to pop in here to basically become a back 3. So as this ball comes into him, we're going to ask our center back to stay high and wide, which now that he's occupying this channel, we don't need 3 guys here, so that would push our fullback higher, which would allow a rotation of our winger to step into the half space and our central midfielder now to pop in centrally in order to support the defensive midfielder here. In this case, we could ask our defensive midfielder to drive or maintain possession. So we're pulling our defensive midfielder in here, hoping to maybe pull their opposition shape out so we could maybe play in, play across, and attack them behind. So again, basic structure, back 4 circulating the ball until we can go forward from the fullbacks. At times, if there's space and the center backs are wide, or the center backs are under pressure, we pop our defensive midfielder in between them to form a back 3 and push the fullbacks on higher. So that's our basic attacking structure.